Recording in progress.
Okay, we will call to order the Wednesday, October 4th regular meeting of the Aspen Pitkin County Housing Authority. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Cindy, please.
Okay, Allison?
Yes.
John?
Present.
Carson?
Here.
Ward?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
John?
Here.
And Peter?
Here.
Okay. Great. We will move to public comment. We have a 3-minute public comment limit. And what we'll do is we'll start with anybody in the room that's here for public comment. If you'd like to make public comment, please come up to the microphone here, identify yourself, and make your comments.
It's so warm in here.
You're wearing like a winter sweater.
I am. I noticed that.
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Fulton. I spoke last week and I wanted to show my face in person this week. I am trying to do a right size swap with another owner who is here as well. We are looking to get a bigger place and he's looking to get a smaller place, and we are trying to ask for your permission to do so. We've been shot down because of, I guess, the occupancy. So we're here to ask for your permission in our voluntary swap. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. So in order for us to, so with regard to that, so that is the right sizing pilot program. And so that is written into our regulation. So in order for us to change that, it would be something that we would need to change in the regulations. I think we're going to have a regulation discussion at our next meeting. And so likely that will be on the agenda for discussion at our next meeting.
Jennifer,
go ahead.
Can you remind me of one thing? The family downsizing to a 2-bedroom, that is for, there would be 2 people living there, but one is a dependent who's too old, but he'd be living there and going to CMC?
He turned 20 in February. Jim can speak on this. He's a full-time student at CMC. He works intermittently in Pitkin County. And I was told that that's only a rental regulation, which makes no sense to me.
But the intention is to have your child living with you in the 2-bedroom?
Yes.
And the downsizer? Okay, so it's maximum bedrooms, taken, as opposed to someone,
Vacant bedroom.
yeah, like a
Right.
couple downsizing.
Right.
And so, okay, thank you.
And is that, will the regulation modification be next time? Is that?
So the way that it would work is we would have the discussion likely next time, and then staff would bring it back at the next meeting for approval, and so then the board would have the first reading of any regulation changes, and then at the next meeting after that there would be a second reading, public comment, and upon passage of any regulation changes at the second reading, it would immediately become effective.
So is that approximately 6 weeks?
No, it won't be because of our meeting schedule. It wouldn't be until the middle of December.
Is there any creative way around that time frame?
I don't believe. I mean,
No, there is not.
from a public notice standpoint, I mean, so we'll have to discuss the changes. Originally, we had it slated up for the agenda tonight. Our attorney couldn't be here, and if we're going to be talking regulation changes, wanted to have Tom here. And so, there's not a way for us to bypass sort of the public notice period.
And there's no flexibility within the current program to make exceptions?
No, because it's in the regulations, and so, right.
Hey, Peter, if I can just add from staff point of view, the regulations, we apply the regulations, and the word exception really makes me nervous, and I don't like it because that creates a lack of clarity of what we're actually doing and who we're doing it for. So I'd really prefer that we just apply the regulations as written, and this does sometimes get in the way of individuals like poor Jennifer here, and we will seek a way around that, but exceptions and waivers and that kind of thing, I really want us to steer away from that kind of thing, so we just know what's going on and I can apply the regulations as written.
My understanding was it was sort of a pilot program.
Yeah,
and that it was
but
meant
we
to-
wrote it into the regulations as a pilot per Tom's advice because we are bypassing the normal lottery process, so we had to be very, very clear on what we were doing and why.
There is a path to expedite. You could have a special meeting, but that requires getting everybody together, scheduling the meeting, and having special meetings to make regulation changes might be a path and a precedent that we may not want to set.
That's a good point.
Could I ask if you have any regulations regarding students when it comes to purchasing units and not just rental units?
They just have to be, it's the same regulations
It's the
as
age.
anybody, right?
It's not that they're a student, it's
Yeah.
the age.
But if they're purchasing by themselves, they just have to be working in Pitkin County like anybody else.
The definition of a student in the APCHA documents say anyone over 18 that's enrolled in a full-time accredited school and working intermittently in Pitkin County, which he qualifies as. So I'm a little lost as to why we're not getting the occupancy.
Maybe it'll help to explain why that was changed. The dependent age used to be 23, and that applied for purchase of units as well. And what we were observing is folks who were bidding on ownership units that had children who have frankly moved out of the home, but were still under the age of 23, that were being counted for maximum occupancy of bedrooms and contributing to sort of this lack of efficiency that we're trying to address in the broader program about making sure that all bedrooms get filled. And so the change for the definition for an ownership unit was to lower that so as folks who have 2 kids in college or have aged out, even graduated college, that were no longer living in Pitkin County or with the family, were not winning like a 4-bedroom unit, as when they bid on that to purchase. So we reduced that age to 19 so as to still allow a family with children who are coming home and still in college, to potentially buy a unit that they could then live in, even though they weren't using all the bedrooms. But balancing that with trying to not create situations that we're going to leave empty bedrooms in the inventory. So, and Jen and I have talked a bit on this. The staff had recommended for the pilot program that the occupancy calculation for a swap, number one, result in a net bedroom gain, but allow for the number of qualified occupants, qualified workers, plus one, so long as that resulted in a net bedroom gain. And I'm looking to Cindy to make sure I articulated that.
If you're right sizing down.
Right.
It was minimum occupancy minus one. So a one-person household could get a two-bedroom, but that was not what the board approved.
Right. Again, because for the pilot, we wanted to sort of start as narrow as possible. And we're observing how this is all playing out, especially with your situation.
Yeah, and this was started in like May 15th, I believe, of this year. And I hear that there might be one swap occurring. To me, that doesn't sound like it's being very successful. So I would really appreciate it if we can revisit this sooner than later so we can try to make a successful swap happen and open up more bedrooms. I'm not very optimistic on taking the Burlingame 3 bedrooms, so I would love to see this this come to resolution sooner than later for not only myself but other families that I know would be interested in partaking in the program. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment in the room? Okay.
Public comment also.
Oh, please come on up.
Thank you. Hi there, y'all. Thanks for making time. Thank you for creating.
Would you just real quick state your name?
Jim Brokamp.
Thanks,
I've
Jim.
been a resident for 25 years and lived on Five Trees for 20 years. Actually a resident of the Valley, working in Aspen for 25 years. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's a beautiful home. And I work and plan to continue to work. I have a 20-year-old son who's in college, and right now the house is pretty empty, as in me. So in looking long-term to stay in Aspen because of the asset requirements and all the regulations, it would seem my option, not that it's awful, is to stay in this beautiful ski-in, ski-out house. So, but maintenance is an issue as I get older, and I hope to work at least until I'm 70. Maintenance is an issue, and it's a big issue. These are single-family homes with a lot of snow on the roof. There's a lot of painting, lawn care, snow removal. And so in the long run, if I want to continue to live in Aspen, potentially retire here, the pilot program is a nice avenue that I'm glad you've created and am hopeful that I can participate in. I coincidentally know Jennifer, and they have the 4 of them in a 2-bedroom, which is, nice. And so we were seeing if it would work out. I guess the only question is if it could be modified, as I guess Mr. Gillen suggested. You can't really modify rules, but I'm requesting occupancy -1. My son has worked since he was 18 at 3 different jobs, driving at 3 different hotels, and now he's at CMC Steamboat Springs. He's just started there. And as it goes, I picture him living with me for a period of time. He enjoys skiing in Aspen and grew up AVSC and the whole bit, and doesn't desire to potentially live anywhere but Western Colorado. Now, I know he could move out, but right now he's not working full-time, so that would not qualify him. So my request is simply to look at the possibility of modifying the program, or in case the program ages out and you determine a new program, that somehow could qualify someone like me, because I'm doubtful I could qualify for a lottery. Not that I'm wealthy, but just looking at the numbers to qualify for what my income is versus my assets, it's really designed for a younger family, many of the regulations, which is fair, So yeah, that's my request for occupancy -1, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Jim, I think that the whole idea of trying to get the most occupancy in bedrooms and the right sizing program, it's a pilot program, and as these programs get tried on, we find that there needs to be some tweaking, and I think that we really want to be able to do right sizing. Speaking for myself, and I think for the rest of the community, we want to do right sizing, and the pilot program is just that, is to find out where the tweaks need to be made. And I think that
Do the
we-
income categories fit?
Currently, myself, individually, yes.
I mean, we were willing to
Two
do
in-
stuff where you didn't necessarily have to qualify income-wise to go to downsize. Sorry, I muted it. Well, we were willing to do stuff. I mean, you gotta have two to tango, right? I think we gotta figure something out.
It's a struggle because you don't want to make too much, and sometimes you don't want to, you know what I mean? And so for people who are in the purchasing phase, or in this case, the downsizing phase, someone might be encouraged to take some time off from work, or in some other cases, I guess, to, make more money, change jobs, things like that.
Can I clarify our pacing on this? Couldn't we do a first reading and discussion, like have something brought to us at the next meeting, discuss it, and then vote following? Do we need that
So
discussion
split the
period?
regulation changes into 2.
We'll bring this bring the
Specific
pilot
one.
in as a regulation change.
Instead of having a work session,
Right, I don't
first
think
reading,
that's
a second
necessary.
reading,
Could
you
do
can
that.
do a first reading
But
and discussion.
the discussion, your request might not be what ends up happening, but the result could be the same, because I don't know that I'm fully behind occupancy -1 as much as raising a student's age, for instance, or like we have these other avenues of different strings to pull. So I think that's where the discussion happens.
Right.
Ideally with the same result for these two families.
May I add that, I'm sure you understand that the current trends are that children are staying at home quite a bit longer due to the general cost of, let's say, moving to Denver or the city or whatever. And so that might be a consideration. And the fact that he's also a dependent, or could be a dependent on my tax return and such,
Yeah, I think these programs are not cast in stone. If we find that they need to be tweaked, I think we're willing to do the tweaking. And then I think we're willing to have this discussion as a board.
Yeah, I don't know how we would bring it to have the change without having the discussion first.
Well, usually there's a first reading and then discussion. But I see, like,
Yeah.
what would that reading be? What ordinance would it be? We could chat about it. Yeah.
I know there's a first reading and then a second reading that's a
I
public
know.
hearing.
Right.
And I don't know if there is a set time that has to be in between the two. I suspect that it's at least a 24-hour for notice, but I'm not sure. That comes back to if you have a first reading and a special meeting for the second reading, and
Yeah.
I think it's hard for us to do a first reading without the discussion,
Yeah.
because as Alison pointed out, there are a couple different ways we could go. So I recognize the need for speed, and I apologize to these two clients who are not getting it, but I think we do need to have that discussion
Agree.
before we,
Somehow we were just trying to stimulate churn,
yeah.
right? We were trying to, that was the swap board discussion, find
Right.
people that were willing to do something.
Yeah, and it's been clear for some time that we need to loosen this up a little bit to see what happens, and there's a couple different ways we can go, so we'll bring that back for discussion next time. Does that work? And we'll move as quickly as we can.
yeah, I think we want to work with you guys to see if we can make this work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you all.
Okay.
I did have it on.
If there's no other public comment in the room, then we will go.
Carson.
Oh, go ahead.
I just found that during COVID, it was really handy to have the photos up online when you post a sale, and I know it's extra administrative work, but I would like to put my 2 cents in saying that I would love to have those back because I'm not afforded the flexibility to go to an open house on a Wednesday during those few hours. And that would be a tremendous improvement that I really enjoyed during COVID, very much so. And we're messing with your Zoom link, so you might want to.
Photos of the units for sale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy.
Or even rent, like just in general.
Let me follow up on that. Thanks. Thanks, Amy.
Okay, is there any public comment online? I see Elizabeth.
She's not raising her hand.
And Elizabeth, I can't hear you.
She's not talking either.
Doing any fall camping?
Elizabeth, can you give us a mic check here?
Rabbit Valley?
She's talking. She can hear us, but we can't hear her.
Can you use sign language? None of us can read it, but maybe you could.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
How fast can you
Huh.
type?
I know, I don't have any glasses. I should order some.
Hold on, we're working on it right now.
Because it's in the morning. All my kids are going to stand there and stare at it.
Oh, yeah, because here you'll be able to see the crossing.
She's in here twice, that's why. I don't
Will
know
you
why
see
she-
the full black
Who's
lines?
Axberg?
That's
We
not
had-
why.
We had something a second ago on that TV.
The true total, which is happening next
That's what's
April
messing up.
8th, I believe.
There's 2 Elizabeths.
Because Casper Continent.
Different.
That's a different person.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Cool.
So I think the moon is farther away from the Earth, so it doesn't completely cover the sun, and so you cannot look directly at it.
Yeah.
Like you could last time.
No, you can't. Yeah.
Let me do that first.
Amazon cart. See if we can order some clips.
Right.
Takes everything forever to get here.
Can we-
Can we ask Elizabeth to give another audio check?
Elizabeth, can you give us an audio check here? We can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was at your end. Okay.
I can see it.
I had a bunch of things, kind of typical laundry list. But I'm not gonna waste your time on that. One of the things on my list was Jennifer Fulton. I don't know her. I have been so disturbed since last meeting about this whole right sizing thing. And it further begs the question of what does the APCHA board do? I don't know. I had 3 different independent conversations with 3 of you up there in recent weeks. You can't answer the question. And this right-sizing experiment is an example. The right-sizing experiment is an experiment. What on earth is it doing in the regulations? As John said, it was to generate churn. It was about freeing up bedrooms. And Ward, you're absolutely right. This is an experiment and you tweak it. And the goal was to offer 5 different matches over, I don't know if there was a time period, maybe the course of the year, but offer up 5 and get to yes, free up bedrooms. And in so doing, you could make little arrangements, little carrots, little sticks. And at the end, you go back and you evaluate and you say, what were the pluses? What were the minuses? Did it work? Did it meet our goals? Is this something we would like to put into the regulations with knowledge from the results of the experiment? This whole thing about codifying it is absolutely ridiculous. You missed the point. The goal was to free up bedrooms. Now here you've got Jim. He's willing to trade with Jennifer. This is a classic case of what absolutely should happen. The carrot for Jim, for downsizing, is to let his kids stay with him. Okay, you know me, I'm a stickler for the rules, but we're running an experiment here to free up bedrooms. So that's where you do the little tweaks, and at the end, you take a step back and say, were the costs worth the benefits? But by saying no, you hurt Jim and that family, you hurt Jennifer's family, you hurt your own credibility by not going after your goals. You hurt this community because I'm gonna have to pay to fix up that house. You guys royally blew it. How on earth do you codify an experiment that you haven't run yet? And if you can't conduct an experiment and evaluate its pluses and minuses afterwards, what is it that you guys do? Now looking over to the left, at Cindy and at Matthew, man, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that is not the spirit of this community. I implore you guys to take a step back and treat this as the experiment that it is and get to yes for these folks. You have a decision to make tonight about your repair pilot program. Don't you dare put that into regulations. Learn from this. But in the meantime, get to yes for these folks. What is it doing in the regulations? Get the experiment out of the regulations.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
And Carson, congratulations on your 6-bedroom house. That is quite a coup. Thanks, guys.
So what I would just appreciate the personal jab there. What I would just add, Elizabeth, is this board is required to follow the law. This board cannot simply do as it pleases. The decision to put the pilot program into the regulations was done specifically on the advice of our counsel. I don't know that anybody on this board would profess to know the law better than our attorney. And so again, I mean, this is the board following.
Let's just mute her.
Let's mute her.
She's had enough airtime
This is the
today.
board following the law and following the public process that is outlined by the state of Colorado. And we can't just simply do whatever we want. So,
Well, but we've also all said we're going to figure something out, right? So we've kinda
said
we'll
right,
figure it out.
We've said it's coming up at the next meeting, right? But we will. That's what we'll do. So with that, is there any other public comment?
I just would say I look forward to Ms. Milius's support of any pilots that come through and would hope to refrain from any admonishment related to empty bedrooms that do not get filled as a result of changes that we might make to the pilot program.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's no other public comment, then we will move to Board of Directors comments. Sorry?
5 minutes.
Oh, sure.
We're having a workshop.
Oh, okay. We're going to take a short break here. We're having some issues with GrassRoots. We're going to take a short 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Stop recording.
Testing Aspen Zoom. Good to see you. Testing APCHA Zoom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone? Bueller?
Recording in progress.
Okay, and we're back. So we will move to Board of Directors comments. We'll start with Peter.
Okay, thank you. I would again love to see the compliance report moved to the front of the website. Looked like there was a new update to the webpage. And on that report, clarifying the resolution status, the explanation of that would be helpful. Interested in the status of the 5 monthly audits and what information in those audits are being audited. And the status of the affidavits. I know a high percentage was in, and look forward to the report on that. And I agree it's a great idea to have the photos up online of the units. Thank you.
John.
No comments tonight, thanks.
Kelly.
Yeah, I would, I sent some information along to Matthew, but I thought I would just bring it up that if y'all remember, if we haven't all totally blanked out the pandemic, that there was quite a lot of money in relief funds that came to Colorado for mortgage assistance, and other assistances, whether it was rental assistance, et cetera. But from what I'm understanding from some of my contacts, that there continues to be millions and millions of dollars of mortgage assistance that is available for people to apply to through the Colorado Division of Housing to help people, you know, take care of back payments. This can also be applied for taxes or for HOA payments in arrears. So I thought it could be of interest for us, should there be folks in our inventory who are in arrears of their HOA payments, to take advantage of that money.
Are those grants?
Yes.
I think we'll do a social media post on that.
That'd be great, or just even an
Was
email
that just
to-
today? I've lost track
It was
of time.
yesterday.
It was
yeah.
yesterday. Okay. Yeah.
That, you know, maybe an email to our
Yeah.
HOA list,
Yeah.
you know, and they can get that out to people who they have in their HOAs who maybe are not up to date on payments. I like free money. Okay, thanks.
Board.
No comments.
Allison.
Well, reaching out to HOAs is on my mind. We just had our annual meeting, and HOA is very interested in that reserve study, which I believe will be launched or re-explained by the end of the year.
The RFP is out,
Fantastic.
and we're having a, what do they call it, Liz? The meeting November?
Pre-bid meeting.
Pre-bid meeting.
In November, great.
Yeah. So, you know,
Okay.
hopefully we'll get some good responses to that, but it's open.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have one eager taker. One idea, if we have a moment to talk about it right now, for still having that regulation discussion next week, would be to just say, please write the regulation with the occupancy -1 language. We have the discussion of it like that. It might be that coming out of that first reading discussion, we say something else for second reading, but just a way to get it out. And my recommendation, because I think it's the easiest, would be to just revert what staff had initially recommended, that language for us to vote on and begin discussing. Yeah, I think pilot programs within regulations is super dicey, so it's definitely noted. I'm proud that we are not making exceptions each time we're begged by different people left and right, because I think we get, I think people are suspicious that there's favoritism anyway, and sticking with the rules is the way to do it. So let's learn and get better, and I do think in this case, we're anticipating a happy ending. I'm all done.
Probably not.
I know. I
Probably
have
not
more to say when I remember.
Probably not appropriate to tell Jim to get a girlfriend, or whatever. But anyway, I have two comments. One pertains to APCHA and one pertains to not. Hearing officer, I mentioned that in an email earlier. I think we need to have that discussion, RFP or whatever we need to do to look for a new hearing officer. The second one is related to another life. I'm a board member of the Aspen Higher Learning Flight Academy as well. It's a flight program that kind of runs through the high school. We have have 3 aircraft out at the airport today that we train kids to fly. They've given 11 scholarships to local kids over the last year to get their private pilot's license. It's a great program. We got a kid that's the youngest, a graduate of that program. That's the youngest youngest pilot with seniority at American Airlines today, which is a big deal. He'll eventually be the senior pilot at American Airlines if he sticks around for 35 years. But you know, we're having a big fundraiser this weekend and a big open house on Saturday, and I was really directed to the commissioners and the city council members, but you can go too, Carson, you can go too, Allison, Peter. But it's a great event. It'll be a lot of fun. You'll get to see the aircraft that the Flight Academy owns, but also chat with the guys that have made it happen. I've been involved with the program since 2014, and you've had some really, really great people that have kind of made it work. So.
Are you a pilot?
Thanks, John.
No, but my kids are both in it, and
Okay, really?
one's in college for it, and the other one's going to college for it. So.
Those are the signs in the roundabout?
Yeah, those are the signs that the roundabout. So yeah, Saturday at the hangar.
We're too busy driving to read the signs.
Slow down, Warren.
I haven't been around about ages.
Well, he's got to keep his eye on the road.
Must be nice. Never leave Aspen.
He's only got
It's
one.
okay to stop in the roundabout.
Yeah, he's got to keep that eye on the road. What time is it Saturday?
I think it starts at 11 on Saturday. That's
Cool.
the big open house. There's a gala. We've sold 150 tickets for that. We're fundraising. We're looking for ways to do it.
I'm
keep
sorry,
it going.
John, where is that?
It's at the hangar at the airport on Saturday.
Follow the signs.
Yeah, follow the signs. There'll be a lot of people. It usually gets pretty well attended on Saturday.
Cool. Okay, so my comments tonight, I've just got one. So we had somebody on Zoom who's going to make a comment that had to drop off, and so what this is a regulation change that I would like to consider next week, but just wanted to pass the comments along because she had to drop off to deal with something at work. But it's someone who is who has qualified for for a category. I won't say which one, and then is has recently received a promotion. So is now an executive director of a housing, a child care facility, I believe, and sort of so has is going to be making this year more than the category that they're currently in, and so she had just reached out and was asking for consideration in allowing basically APCHA to for her to present evidence showing that indeed she no longer qualifies for the category that she is in and that she will be moving to a higher category. Of course, that comes with, for Burlingame, being able to bid on specific units within the category, and then for non-Burlingame units being able to bid up one. So historically, APCHA has just looked at historical tax documents in determining your category. And so what I would just suggest is making a very limited exception for moving up only, for the purposes of making sure that we're not having somebody who's earning significantly over the category that they would qualify based on last year's tax returns, allowing them to move up sort of mid-year and do it as a one-time thing and sort of have some restrictions about their, the burden of proof of what needs to be provided. But basically, at the end of the day, it is preventing someone from moving into a category that they don't really qualify for. And I think that's ultimately a benefit to the community, and I think that meets the goals of APCHA.
So right now, that person must be looking to bid 2 up, right?
No.
Because you're allowed to bid up. So if
Right.
they have been bumped up 1,
Right.
then they can't. Then
But not in Burlingame. So the new Burlingame units, the city council, there's a restriction that you can only bid on your category. So
I don't think APCHA regulations would affect that first sale that the city council set then anyway, if we changed it. I don't think we can supersede their property.
okay, so if someone was category 1,
Yeah.
and they, are now making category 2 money,
Correct.
right? They could bid on the category 2 Burlingame units, right? Currently, they would not be allowed to bid on those because they would be category 1.
If APCHA requalify. Okay.
Right.
The other thing you said is I actually had the opposite, and it was detrimental as well, where I left a well-paying job, took a lower-paying job, was forced to only go for things that were out of my reach for a full year. So I think the conversation is that timeline, or is that that requal exception. I think it happens with couples. You know, you can bid either as a couple or single. I think if something happens in your relationship during the year, you should be able to change that. And so it should be able to be with some life circumstance changes as well.
I think my only sort of thought there is that there might be, I think that is ripe for abuse. Like, I think there are specific cases where it does make sense, but I think, right, there are people too that would certainly try and abuse.
You were codifying it with your only bid up comment.
Yeah, right. I mean, and again, the purpose of that is we don't want people making too much in lower category properties. So that's something that, like I said, Carla was going to talk about that tonight, and I think that's worth discussing at the next regulation change. So,
can I clarify the regulation changes that we're hearing? There's going to be a whole host of them. We'll learn about each one.
Yes.
And then ideally, you're trying to have them all passed together in a first and second reading as a lump.
Correct.
Okay.
And like I said, it was scheduled for tonight, but
Right.
Tom couldn't make it. So,
Just as soon as even the sections of what those might be under are known, I think the sooner the better. Just
Yeah.
because, to me, that's almost not enough time to make regulation changes.
a lot of them there are quite a few that that have been discussed previously, and that they've sort of been keeping a list of, yes, the next change, we need to make this, right? So I think there will be several that are very familiar.
Okay.
Sorry to jump on your comments, but how are those going to be messaged to the community leading up to when they're decided upon? Are we going to put them in the paper or notify people?
Well, so I mean, we will discuss them, and then they'll be brought back for voting, and then approved, and then brought back at the next subsequent meeting for second reading and public comment. So, typically, how do they get messaged? I would say if there's anything.
They're on our website.
Yeah, I mean, and I would say if there's any big changes, the paper usually picks those up.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking Zachariason and William offered to do outreach or press releases, and it'd be a good opportunity to take advantage of that.
The county even takes a quarter page of saying what their agenda is. So maybe when it's something as big as a regulation change, a quarter page ad, I don't know if there's a marketing budget for something like that. I guess the request back to all the breadth of things that we'll be deciding, it would be that it's somewhat like a consent calendar where there's things that we can pull, right? Like if we all agree that this typo needs to be fixed,
Sure.
I'm happy to pass that as one, but I don't want things tied to each other that we have to dissect more.
The first meeting of every year at City Council, we have a ordinance or resolution, I think number 1, that says what the official, where official notices are posted, whether it's a physical place at City Hall or on the website. Where is the website the official place where notices are?
I mean, that's where the official regulations live. So when there's a change, the regulations get changed on the website. The pilot program, for example, is in there, and that one's in red just to highlight that it's new and different. But that I don't think there's a other place where they are, the most recent regulations and previous regulations are on the website.
Our agendas and the whole packet itself are usually on the website by Friday afternoon.
So the real APCHA aficionados out there can track everything if they so desire.
There's 6 of us.
Yeah.
7.
Great. Okay, so that's it. We'll move to Executive Director's comments.
Good evening, everyone. Matthew Gillen, Executive Director. I wanted to give a big shout out to Kelly and Carson for coming to the HOA coffee last week. I think that it was we had a small but powerful turnout. We had some good discussion and some delicious donut holes. So we look forward to doing that again. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to the Board of County Commissioners next Tuesday at 1, and I've got an hour blocked off with them, and I'm going to talk about everything we're doing, and some basic updates on, you know, who we are, what we're doing, and some of the statistics. So I've been working with Ashley Pearl on that. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun.
Thank you.
And Carolyn and I, Zachariason and I met on Wednesday, and we've got some things going ahead, which hopefully you'll see soon. And the BG3 winners are happy. I want to give my staff, I'm going to say my staff because, you know, APCHA staff, a big shout out for the BG3 lottery. It's gone all summer. It's been a lot of work, particularly because of our esteemed colleagues in the City Council made it a little bit more difficult because of the urban growth boundary, but we figured that out. So I think that's gone very smoothly. We've got the last ones coming up, so I think we've done a great job on that.
Can I jump in there?
Yes.
I think this is more helpful for City Council than APCHA, but what I have heard is that there's quite a few passes, and I think collecting the reasons behind that would be very beneficial. So obviously if you won more than one unit, you're going to turn one down, but I think there's been families who, you know, 2 bedrooms at 2-story on a 3-bedroom, 3-story house where the children's bedrooms would be on the very bottom and the masters on the top, have been passing because that's just not realistic for family lifestyle. Underparked. I've been hearing reasons why people are passing that I think should help inform design and building moving forward. And so any sort of data that you can collect on those BG lotteries.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm only aware of 2 passes, but they were for that reason. They wanted a higher, it's exactly what it was. I think there's only been a couple.
I know
can check on that.
a lot of them went to the 2nd or 3rd winner, but I think because the 1st and 2nd also, you know, everyone's bidding on everything they won somewhere else. So it probably looks falsely high, but it would be great data.
Yeah, I think any data points we can have on design is welcome.
Okay, I'm just going to write that down.
Matthew, we're happy to make things more difficult for you.
I know you are, Ward. You do it from out of love, but it does. Okay, and then I have some statistics on that. So there were, so far, as of hot off the press, there have been 331 individual households bid, 1,758 individual bids, so that's about 5 bids per household. And 74% of the bids were from people working in the urban growth boundary. And I think everybody who won was in the urban growth boundary, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean?
Priority.
Like, or how is that? No, I know, but like, it's if 74% that applied were in the urban growth boundary, but 100% of those people, so 26% of the people.
There's a priority given to people working in the urban growth boundary.
So whether
Your name wasn't even in the fishbowl.
or basalt.
Yeah.
Or
So
it was in the fishbowl.
Well,
You were on the lower priority
Right.
because your
And
name
no-
was still in there. You could still win if everybody ahead
everybody
of you
passed,
turned it down.
And of those bids, we had from APCHA deed restricted housing, there were 42 households who were owners and 116 households who were renters. And 5 households came from the free market as owners, and 123 households came from the free market as tenants.
Can you email that to us?
Sure.
Please, thank you.
Okay, so that was some, and that's raw data off the presses this
Sorry,
afternoon.
say that again. How many were owners? How many were
I will-
tenants?
Let me read it again. Sorry. Okay, so for people who bid on BG3, so this is bids, not winners, from APCHA deed restricted, there were 42 owners, 116 tenants. From the free market, there were 5 owner households and 123 renter households. So
we don't know that.
I don't know what that tells you, but that's what we have. So
I mean, a lot of renters are trying to
yeah, a lot of
buy.
rent. There we go. That's what it tells you. And we also had 42 APCHA owners trying to, work within the system. So I think we'll see some more movement within the APCHA system as a result of all
Well,
this.
we don't know that breakdown for
We don't know.
winners.
We don't know it for winners.
Okay.
We don't know it for winners.
Can I just clarify one
Yes.
thing? So when you said 74% work within the urban growth boundary or live within the?
Well, you had the rule was you had to work within the urban
Okay.
growth boundary.
Do we know how many people moved from Down Valley into Burlingame
See,
3?
We do not, because we don't have a good description of up valley, down valley, a good definition. So I did have that discussion with Andrew today. So, you know, we could, with a lot of data mining, we could probably figure that out. I'm not sure it's worth it, but we can have a look at that.
Or people that move from outside the urban growth
Right.
boundary?
Right.
Maybe after they close, then it's
Right.
only
That might
80
be-
units
yeah.
to figure out.
Well, Down Valley is Brush Creek and below.
It's like everybody outside the M25 is the north. That's what they say in the UK.
We could
Just-
convert our
Yeah.
housing successes into like vehicle trips saved
Yeah.
and things like that.
Okay, let me just pull up one thing. Okay, and then Peter, you asked about the random audits. So it is on our website. Generally, we just need the tax return, most recent tax return, W-2s or 1099s, business plan, profit loss statement for 2022 if applicable, and some kind of pay record for the past 3 months, and the employee income verification form. So we've tried to keep it pretty light based on information people should already have, i.e. mostly their tax returns. If you're not filing your taxes, you have other problems, but you do need to do that. So that's what that's what it's on there for. And Jackie's going to be towards the end of the year. She'll give us a report on how all that's going.
She's another meeting, Jackie is?
Yeah.
Great.
She's right there.
That's
Thank you,
Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah, she's looking forward to it. Okay, and then, so I just want to talk a little bit about the hearing officer and just remind everybody that I had a discussion with Bethany today. So in 2020, when the RFP for the hearing officer went out, you may have blocked it from your mind, but it was really difficult. And there were 2 different rounds of RFPs for the hearing officer. The position was offered to a couple people who didn't accept it. So, if we want to reopen that's great, but be aware that it's going to be painful. We've also got we've currently described him as the backup hearing officer, but we do have another officer. So maybe the interim step would be to start employing both our current hearing officers and see how that's going. We think the current hearing officer has done an excellent job. He has command of the regulations. He writes very cogent decisions. Tom particularly, we haven't always been gone the way we want it to go, but it's made sense. So we can have a further discussion on that. But I think a thing we might want to do right now is go ahead and use the other hearing officer somewhat and see how that's going. But it's a process to do an RFP for a hearing officer, and that was only 3 years ago. So I'm just throwing these points of information out for you guys to chew on. And we don't need a decision now, but
The current one can't get anything done on time.
Well, so what I would just say is, if we're going, we shouldn't discuss performance of a specific hearing officer. So if we're going to do that, there's notice requirements and other things that apply. So if we want to have a discussion about performance, we can do that. Alternatively, we can just decide to issue a new RFP.
It should be an executive session for personnel, I think.
Yeah, well, so I think the way that it works is, I think if it is discussion of staff performance, it has to be offered to be in public or
He's not staff.
as an executive
He's a
session.
subcontractor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not staff.
I just think we should do another RFP. Some of it was we chose him because he was so much less expensive than the other.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we had another one, but I think they were $300 an hour, and maybe it's worth it to us to spend that money.
Is it an option to do both? To work with
Yeah.
the other one and issue a new RFP?
What's the process? How will we
Or work
decide
with
when it
both
goes
and
to
then
our
issue an RFP?
current, and how will you decide
I
when
think
it
that
goes
would
to the
just be
alternate?
us based on availability and
I think it'd be great for like the next 3 appeals to go to the alternate officer, and like we do have an alternate, so why go look for one when we haven't even tested the one we have? See how those cases are
Yeah,
handled.
two things. I think if it's a personnel matter, it should be an executive session unless the subject of that personnel discussion decides that they want to make it a public.
Right.
Okay, and then the other thing is it's been presented to me a number of times at different times that if you can make who you have work, it's better than onboarding somebody else. So try to keep that in mind.
Either way, I think a performance review after 3 years is completely legitimate, right? So I think that we could put that on a future docket and allow the hearing officer to upgrade anything that we suggest and go with the alternate.
I'd just like to see what's out there.
Okay.
Didn't someone mention at some point, like, you can use Telluride's compliance officer? There are compliance officers in other housing authorities that there's a pool of them out there?
doesn't ring a bell with me. I
Okay.
don't think that.
Regulations are different.
Yeah, I don't think that would work.
Okay.
Okay, I'll chat with Tom. We'll see what the process is. In the meantime, we'll see if we can get some the other hearing officer to do some cases too, based on availability. Okay. And then I did also just Carson's comment about the category. We've had a little bit of back and forth. I just want to give some context on why APCHA has always used the tax form. It's the federal form. People may fib to us, but hopefully they're not going to be fibbing to the feds. It's a transparent, coherent snapshot of what somebody's doing, and I understand there's a frustration that there'll be a lag. Either if somebody gets a promotion, that there's a lag there based on the taxes, and also Allison had a good point. It works the other way too. We find that has been the most successful way to really get the official on the books view of what people's tax financial situation is looking at, and I do understand the frustration. So, I can write a memo kind of outlining that a bit more detail, but I would request a really fairly thorough discussion about that before we do any changes, because it would be a pretty significant, I would be a very significant change in the way we do our qualifications, and I am concerned about unintended consequences. But I also recognize that in certain individual cases, it is detrimental to people because they have a change in their financial situation, and it takes, I don't know what the maximum amount of time would be, but maybe up to a year before we catch up on that. So,
yeah, I guess my point is it's detrimental to them not being able to bid,
Yeah.
but we're also knowingly putting someone in a category that they
they're
don't
not gonna
qualify for.
for the next year. Well, I mean, that's some of it too. Like you get somebody becomes a stay-at-home mom or dad. They stay home for a couple of years. They get a job
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Like paycheck stubs are going to be hard to fabricate when you're going up an income category, right? And most of these people are going to be paycheck stubs.
yeah, I can write a memo up about it, and we can have a discussion. But it's I'd like a pretty robust discussion about it.
Heck, if we have a president that has 2 sets of books.
Right.
Yeah, I've told my qualification people, you can't have 2 sets of books, and saying I tell the IRS this, but please count all these hours, and like no,
Right.
no.
I
You
feel like
get
people are
one set of
most
books.
honest to the mortgage companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, so I thought we were doing that, and that if someone says I'm category 1 and then they report to the mortgage company I'm actually category 2, why are we okay with that?
Yeah, we've just historically leaned very heavily on the tax return because it's an
We look at loan applications.
Yeah.
We require
Right.
loan the lender, the person who's buying has to sign an agreement that we can ask the lender for their loan application. And if we look at the loan application, and I know that Pam does this, if she looks at the loan application and she sees somebody's assets so much different than what they've reported to us, then we will talk to them and say, you don't qualify for this. You gave us different things than what you gave the
Right.
lender, or please explain why it's different.
Yeah.
So we do look at those. Pam does look at
Yeah.
those when she gets those.
Well,
You run into people that make more, say they make more money on their tax returns than they actually make? Because I usually run into people that make a lot
No,
less on their tax returns, but they go, oh, I make a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that I think, that you have circumstances where people show, whatever on their tax return, and then they show more on the loan application. And that, I guess what I'm saying is if we're only looking backwards at tax returns and not considering current pay and job changes and promotions, et cetera, again, we're knowingly putting somebody in a category they don't qualify
Oh, that's what
for.
I'm saying, a paycheck stub or something, letter, employer letter, things that can verify income to get you to the next category, because that's ultimately where you want to be, right?
Right.
I would love for us to have like a
Yeah.
thorough
yeah.
conversation based on, based on staff input, because I think we should discuss it.
Poetic license not allowed.
No matter what, it's a snapshot. We just have to
'Cause
decide
this could become a very long conversation, because I'm already like, oh, I could comment on that, and that, and that, and ask
Yeah, we'll
questions
get
about
some-
that, and.
Okay, I think we'll get some time on the calendar for that.
affordability, really, I think, in the end.
And then the final thing I have that we have 2 open jobs at APCHA. So if you have, anyway, we have the maintenance job and one of the front office jobs.
Does it
So
come with housing?
does not, ironically. And I think that's everything. Great. Anything else for me? Great. Thanks everyone.
Nope. Cindy, lots of sale units.
Lots of sales units, and and it is some with Burlingame 3. There are some current owners that won, so please look at that. We just had how many lotteries today? We had quite a few lotteries today, and the last lotteries for Burlingame 3 is a week from today, the 11th. That's the last. That'll be the last lotteries for the Burlingame 3. But definitely sign up for notifications and definitely look on our system. We do still also have 2 bedrooms, a couple of 2-bedroom units at Truscott Phase 2. So we still have some of those available. So again, look at our website for all that information. We have all
Those
that
are
information
Litex,
on there.
right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. We have filled a few, but we still have a few available.
Great. Okay, we'll move to the consent calendar. We have 1 item, minutes of September 6th, 2023, regular meeting. Any discussion, changes, or a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Motion to approve from Ward.
I'll second.
Second from Kelly. And roll call.
Okay. Allison?
Yes.
John Ward?
I was absent and I'll abstain.
Carson?
Yes.
Ward Howenstein?
Yes.
Did I get everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Kelly?
Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sitting there going, I know I missed somebody.
Is Peter a voting member?
John abstained.
Oh, John.
Yep.
Oh, because Peter, yes, because he was stating that. Peter,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, motion passes. So next is election of officers.
I nominate Carson.
So what?
I second.
What officers, what are the officers again? Could you remind me?
Chair, vice chair, and treasurer.
Chair, vice chair, and treasurer. Okay, so.
Right now, it's Carson,
Nominate Carson
John,
Schmitz for
and
vice chair.
Francie.
Or chair, sorry.
And treasurer. Okay,
Is the treasurer staff, is that Cindy or?
No, that's Francie.
Francie.
Well, she's not here. Let's nominate her.
Definitely.
You can do everything. Okay, so we'll start with the chair.
Carson Schmitz for chair.
I
second.
second.
Okay.
I move to close
seconds.
nominations for chair.
I have a motion from John, a second from Kelly. Any other?
If elected, will you serve?
Yes.
You do a great job, Carson.
The best.
If there are no other nominations, it's a roll call vote.
Okay, Allison,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Carson.
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Thank you. Vice
I
Chair.
nominate John Ward as vice chair.
I'll second. Do you wish to be vice chair again?
Sure.
Great.
Big shoes to fill.
All right. Motion from Ward and a second from Kelly. Any other nominations? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote.
okay, Kelly,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
John.
Aye. It's weird to vote for yourself. though.
Can,
I
do,
know.
do you guys want to self-nominate?
I don't have a problem with that.
Not my style.
Okay, and then last, treasurer. So the responsibilities of the treasurer.
There's not much. It used to be where, when the city was under a different contract with the Music Associates, they always sat on the Maralt Finance Committee. Under the brand-new contract that the city has, there really there's no more Maralt Finance Committee, so there's nothing really that the treasurer does at this point. I think the treasurer was made at the very, very beginning because a long time ago, we actually paid all the bills, and we had our chairperson and our HOA and the executive director sign all the invoices when we paid them. And the treasurer was a little bit more involved in what we did. And the bylaws have not been changed, or the intergovernmental agreement hasn't been
Can I
changed.
reconsider my nomination?
So-
I'm going to nominate Ward.
I think that Allison should be a treasurer.
You know, it seems like, but you're saying the treasurer is still in the IGA?
It is in the
Okay.
IGA.
Because it seems like if we want a third officer to do something helpful, we should change the IGA.
And it
to make
usually,
that.
if the chair isn't here, then the vice chair takes over. If the vice chair isn't here, then the treasurer runs the meeting. So that's kind of the waterfall effect as well, during meetings as well.
In response to John's
Second
nomination,
Sean's nomination.
I think that it's, I like the idea of non-electeds being
See,
officers.
I like the idea of having at least one elected as an officer.
Well, if you don't
That's
have to
why
do
Francie
anything.
was for a while, now we'll go to the city for a year.
So I've got a motion from John and a second from Allison for Ward.
Literally, this position doesn't do anything?
It really doesn't. It just if the chair and the vice chair are not present, then they would be the chair for that meeting.
Okay.
And I have a motion from Ward for Allison.
It dies without a second.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, I guess. There's only one.
Yeah, if you don't have to do anything, fine.
So who's the
Ward.
motion for? Ward?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
John
Allison,
and
it's
John and
okay?
Allison.
Okay.
Word, is it okay? Is that okay? Yes.
So who? So
John,
this
motion
is,
from John for Ward, second from Allison for
Okay.
Ward.
now we're in for a vote, right?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Allison.
Yes.
John Ward.
Yes, ma'am.
Carson.
Yes.
Ward Howenstein.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. All right. We'll move on to
Thank you, everybody.
Liz is
What's the
here.
compensation again?
Yeah.
You just got it.
It's a lot.
Free granola bars.
There's a sparkling water over here and a protein bar.
It'll look good on your resume.
I got a raise.
Liz
Amy's
is
gonna
here
be
with
so
an update on
happy.
the capital repair grant program.
I'll share my screen. I know you can all
Yeah,
see it
that's
on there, right?
Oh, I thought you said Amy.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, let's see.
More jobs for Ward. Yeah.
Yep.
Burnishing.
Some slides for you.
Resume.
That over.
What?
Let's see if you can see my notes or not.
Printer before I came over here.
Do you just see the slide?
We do
Okay.
see the
Yes.
slide.
Great,
yeah.
perfect. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's been a while. I think this is the most I've had everyone in person before, so nice to be here. So I know it's been a while, so tonight the plan is to give an update on the Essential Repair Pilot Program that the APCHA board approved, I believe, back in the spring. And since then, it's made its way through the BOCC and City Council, and we've had to go back and forth a little bit just to make sure that funding was approved and giving updates along the way as well. And so the plan for tonight is to just give first a full program overview. I mean, for you all, though, it's a review, but it's also for the community, so they're all looped in into what this program is going to look like. And just so you know, there are going to be just like a couple minor changes from what was in the memo, just because very applicable to our conversation that we're going to be tweaking this pilot program as we go to make sure that it aligns with current APCHA procedures and meets the needs of our community. It's nothing major. It's just sometimes like a couple wording things, and I'll call it out as we go as well. So yeah, and then in addition to this full program overview, I'm also going to go over what the application looks like and our current timeline for the program as well. And feel free to jump in if you have questions along the way, and we can just go from there. There's anything that was approved by the BOCC or council won't be able to change, but some of those minor things we can tweak still. So, and I mean, the biggest update I would say since I last talked to the APCHA board on this program too is that the funding for this program did double as well. From the $5,000 grants, we're now giving out $10,000 grants because both the BOCC and City Council agreed to double their funding contribution. So we decided instead of having more grants available to double the amount of grant funding. Is there any questions about that? Okay, great, then let's just go in. So first, the eligibility requirements for this program are the same. So we had decided, well, you had all decided to only offer grants to category 1 through 3 APCHA homeowners. And this will be based off their current income as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later too. But that will include submitting last year's tax returns, last year's W-2s or 1099s, and employment verifications. So we're basically making sure that people are in full compliance, which goes into the second requirement for eligibility. So everyone who is applying for this program to be eligible for a grant, they have to be current on HOA dues, taxes, and they have to be in that category. But also we are requiring that they're under the current APCHA deed restriction as well, which we would like to say, put it out there that owners are welcome to reach out to APCHA and ask about what that means if they have any questions too. And so we can address any hesitancies or what that current deed restriction actually looks like. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the grants are now $10,000 versus the original $5,000, and that's $10 max per unit. So you can't have 2 people in your household each apply for a grant. And along with this, and people can't pool grants, like grant funding together to try to go towards a communal repair on their whole property as well.
Just one point of clarification. So the category 1 to 3 homeowners, do they have to requalify? Or
Yes, they will. And so everyone, for a valid application, they're going to have to submit all their requalification forms, except we're not looking at assets. So it's just last year's income and employment verification. So it's like a expedited requalification in a way, yeah.
But if somebody moved, I guess the point that I'm making for the public is if someone moved into a category 1 and was making category 5 income, they would not qualify for this program.
Yes, yeah, that's a great point to make. So yeah, so if you live in a category 1 unit but make category 5 income, you won't be eligible.
Great.
Same other way around too. If you live in a category 5 unit, but now you're category 1 income, you would qualify for this program. And also, if the category that you requalify on is different than your current home category, that doesn't impact your home ownership status or anything. I know we all know that, but I do want to make sure that owners
makes sense
clear that as well.
You would think if you're making a little more money, you can do the maintenance yourself.
Right.
Whereas somebody that lost a job or whatever, but they're still in a fairly expensive unit, need some help.
Agreed.
Perfect. Next, we are still requiring that there's a percentage match that homeowners are required to pay if they receive a grant, and it's tiered by category. And just so whatever the total repair cost ends up being, they just, when they submit their paid invoices, we'll make sure that they're paying that required percentage. So that hasn't changed at all. Eligible repairs. So we are requiring that all repairs that are eligible for this program have to be essential for the health and safety of the household. So we're going to be accepting grants based off that definition. And these categories are really just examples of what that might look like, but it's also a great opportunity for us to collect some data on our inventory as well. Allison, yeah?
I'm sure this is not exhaustive, but it is pretty specific to single family homes, because a lot of these things, if you're in a condo, you can't take on by yourself. Knowing that and the categories that are eligible, I just don't know that we'll have as many bites. No one in Cat 1, and we don't have Cat 1 single family homes, so they're not going to fix a roof and those type of things.
Yeah, and I would say to this, in the application itself, people check which category, but there is also an other box for them to write what it would be, because it doesn't have to be in this specific category. It's more to just give people an idea of what is eligible as well, but that is a good point too.
It just seems so focused on outdoor single family home repairs, or like your own water heater.
Well, a furnace or a water heater, you don't have separate ones in a condo?
No, we all share it.
Not all of them.
Not
all.
You don't
It
all
just
have a
depends on the
boiler.
property.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
forced
And
air
there's
and
a-
electrical probably.
Part of it is to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that we need to have that specific category down the road, but we could even put a little note that just says it doesn't have to be in here, like fill out the other box if it's something else. Right. So there's a lot of flexibility in our application still, so because it's a pilot program, which is great. And then also there's a note, so no HOA common area responsibilities are eligible at this time. All right. And so here's what the application process is going to look like. So on the form, there is a spot. People can upload a repair quote or estimate if they have one, but otherwise we'll also welcome if they just have an estimate based off their own research. We'll probably be checking that as well. We will be checking that as well to see which range that falls into. But also, this is something we're collecting data on. How much do these repairs cost? Which we'll get clear answers in the post follow-up evaluation as well, since we'll actually be seeing paid invoices from these repairs. But then we're conducting the application through Google Forms. And so to have a complete application, owners have to do the Google form, but then they also have to complete their qualification. And so this qualification just ensures that they're in the current income category that qualifies, but also that they're in full compliance as an APCHA homeowner as well. So if we're giving them public funds, they are working in Pitkin County, they are in the correct category as well. So this includes last year's W-2 or 1099. I know I said this earlier, but just for emphasis, last year's tax return, and then employment verification forms to document full-time employment. This is the one where wording changed a little bit from the memo, so I just want to call that out, where before it said over 18, but now we're just saying whoever's on the title of the unit, that's who needs to submit their requalification. So it's category of the unit as a whole for all the title, everyone on the title. And along with that, employment verification just to show that they work full-time as well. So that might be a couple of employment verification forms, or it might just be one. And we are accepting forms. They can either upload it right to their HomeTrack account, but we'll also accept them in person at the APCHA office. We can't take them on the Google form just because of cybersecurity reasons. So yeah, any questions about this step-by-step process, how this requalification is working, anything in that? Okay, great. That's good.
I have a question on the payment. I want to make sure that we avoid any mechanic liens. So if the payment goes to the homeowner, they don't pay the contractor, then there's a mechanic's lien on the property. So how do we
Great point.
ensure that the contractor gets paid?
Well, so after they do this application, we will be letting them know whether or not they received a grant. And actually what had been decided was that they are going to make the repair and send us their paid invoices of proof of the repair, and then we send them the funding.
It's a reimbursement.
So that's how we're doing it for this.
And, you know, in years to come, if this continues, we might be able to change that around. But for the pilot, we decided that was the easiest way to do it.
So they have to be able to float the full repair.
Right, but yeah, but it's still a step in the right direction, and maybe later on we'll be able to switch that around.
What about just invoice and write a check to the contractor?
Well, we
talked about that here, I believe, but I think ultimately decided that this was the way to go to start the program. And
I think this is one where if somebody doesn't have the cash to float this, I think your suggestion of getting a lien waiver and just paying the contractor directly.
We can investigate that as
I
we
almost
continue.
feel like this is a occupancy -1 problem in the future.
Yeah, 10 grand in the bank is a ton of money.
Right.
So
Kite
it's
a
a 10
check for
grand.
30 days.
I saw at least a timeline written in
Loaded check.
the documentation as to how quickly APCHA can cut the check or something like that. You know, before a credit card payment is due. Ideally, like.
I don't know. I think we'll be discovering some of this stuff as we do it. Is how quickly we turn the funds around. We're trying to keep it.
I mean, is that another regulation thing where somebody comes and goes, I don't have the money, but I have to replace my heater?
Right.
Going into wintertime.
Yes.
All right, Matthew, don't you have enough leeway to go, all right, bring me this invoice, I'll
I
pay
think
the
we might.
deposit, and we'll pay the rest. You pay your share, and we'll take care
And this is not going in our regulations.
it's
right?
not. Yeah, it doesn't.
And
this
I would
doesn't
also
keep
think
us-
that the person who they're working with, the company that they're working with, if they know that they're going to be getting a grant from us, that they might say, fine, here's what the bill is going to be when the work is done.
Well, yeah, a lot of
we can
contractors want
yeah.
a deposit to go buy that water heater or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
So these are some of the things we'll be discovering to have a better idea. Once we've been through this a few times.
And have the flexibility to.
Right. This is not in the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're listening out there, this is not in the regulations.
The
Why
contractor's
is-
net 30 and the grant is on receipt.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the idea of paying the contractor.
I actually
too.
do too, because then you're just paying for the work that got done, right?
Why is this not going into regulation and the other one?
It's not a qualification, the simple answer is the lawyer didn't say they have to, but it's not the regulations are about qualifications and enforcement, and this is a separate thing. So this is something we're doing because we want to, based on our criteria, as opposed to the regulations, which are steeped in law and procedure. Does that answer your question, Peter?
Yes, but this
Yeah.
requires qualification, right?
This requires you be qualified already through APCHA, but it isn't a separate thing.
So the reason, for the pilot program, the rules around the sale of a home are very clearly defined around what the lottery process is, how that all works. The pilot program is in violation of those and is going around those. And because of that, that's why we had to put it in the regulations.
Gotcha. Thanks for the explanation.
That was a much better explanation.
That's helpful.
Chair for another year.
Exceed my expectations.
Is that it?
Yeah, is that it from you? Or,
Can we follow this through so this is step 1, essentially, like apply. And can you just reiterate who reviews it, what's the order, when and how can you get in line to be part of this, when will you be notified, like that,
And so
especially because it's an emergency, right?
I do have timeline, but first why don't I just talk through step by step what the program is looking like. And sounds like we also might want to talk more about the actual financial side too. So, so applicants are going to fill out their application, and a full application, as I said, we we will be checking to make sure that they have submitted their requalification, requalified them, and also filled out the Google form. And so right now what we have is first there's this 1 week window for applicants to turn that all in. But if we get less applications than available grant funding, we're going to keep the application open and accept grants applications on a rolling basis. Otherwise, if we get a number of applications that exceed the amount of funding, we have that prioritization process that we had discussed here before, which is just prioritizing the most emergent repairs first.
Have we had inquiries on this?
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple, I think.
We have.
Do you know what the repairs were?
I'm not 100%. I cannot remember what, I just talked to a gentleman today, but I can't remember what he was inquiring about.
And that's deemed by like the
And so-
contractor that looked at it and says this isn't going to last a week, you know.
Well, we're in the form, they're just gonna mark what priority, but also they have to describe the repair, which I'll pull up this application too. And so, I mean, it's gonna be a learning process, but at this point, it's like, okay, here's what this repair is, and we're gonna be working as an APCHA team, but we're also working with some people from CORE as well, who has a lot of experience working on home repair grant programs as well, and they're gonna be able to give us some advice too on this is actually like in that category, and we'll go from there. But then also there's the possibility that we'll get less applications than grant funding available, and in that case we'll just be accepting applications on a rolling basis. And so the plan is after we close that first week, APCHA staff will get together and we'll go over applications and check, and then we'll reach out to applicants and they'll be filling out a post like a form, basically, letting us know who is doing the repair, how much it actually is, and that'll give us their opportunity to send us the paid invoices, and from there, the plan is to send them the check.
Just walking through your 10 point or 12 points here, should there be a clarifier on, you're going to allow somebody to give you an estimate, like it's going to cost this if they don't have a repair quote, but final funding will be based upon final cost of repairs and your expected contribution, right? Should there be a clarifier somewhere in our description
and
of the program?
I did condense this all a bit for the slide, but we can definitely put a clarifier that's based off the final repair.
Maybe it's not, you've got there, and the application looks fine,
Yeah.
whatever, but there should be something somewhere, so somebody doesn't get the expectation that, well, it's going to cost me 10 grand.
Yeah.
And it comes in at 8, but I said it was 10 grand. I thought I was going to get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
More likely that
Yeah.
somebody says the repair is going to be 10 and it's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that then.
And I would
I'm just trying to watch for
Right.
somebody overstating to
Right.
think they're going to get a little
That's a
more
good
money.
point.
well, or somebody having a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The other thing that I would say is, and I think as we're continuing to look at capital reserves, I think we're going to find that for some people, finding a contractor to actually come out and do the work
It's going to be hard.
is going to be a challenge.
Right.
So, I continue to think that one of the things that we should explore through funding with City Council and BOCC is, perhaps hiring someone additionally onto APCHA staff that could sort of come out and do some of this work, maybe at no expense to the homeowner or the HOA, but just through materials cost or something like that. So just something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
To that point, the timeline in the example in the packet is very creepy to me. I can't think of the right word, but I just think it's gonna, especially if you want to get a quote ahead of time. Oh, great, you pulled it up. I think it's gonna be really hard to call someone the moment you read about this in the paper, which is tomorrow or Monday or something. Get a quote, get your application in by October 23rd, and I would hope that we have way more time to notify the public. And then I think if you want to be part of this, it's so hard to get a contractor to give you any, I hope this timeline can be expanded.
Yeah, it's flexible, especially because it's a pilot grant program. But then the other reason why we're like, let's get this out as soon as possible is just because these are emergency repairs are essential in that case too. But we can push it out.
Yeah, that's where I wonder, why would we say grant closes at 8? Why
Well,
rolling application until funds are
That's if we have to
utilized?
prioritize applications. If
But
we
it's
get
both.
but then if there's more funds available at the end of the week, then we keep it open for people to keep applying.
So we're trying to balance prioritizing if we had an avalanche, but also if it's a trickle, keeping it open. So trying to do both.
I mean, when's the first time this is going to get noticed? I guess the process and the public outreach, I think, needs a whole week by itself, and that's like minimum because people are gone right now.
We're meeting with Carolyn on Tuesday to go.
We're going to do an
brainstorm
email blast to owners as well with the instructions and link as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Put it
Don't
on
say
the
it's
website.
closed. Say it's, it's a rolling application until funds are exhausted.
Right. I mean, that's the real answer.
Except that the problem is if we get the amount of applications that exceed funds that first week, then we have to close it so that we can prioritize.
Applications will be prioritized based upon first application, right? You're going to do it, but then also.
Well, it's not first application.
Well, no, but you're going to take, you're going to have 1 through 50 applications, and then you're also going to categorize them by.
I see.
Specific, what's most important.
It's open until October 23rd or until funding runs out, whichever is sooner.
So we keep it open.
We need to say that.
Yeah.
So you're saying is we're going to keep it open, but then if that first week, everyone who got it in that first week is first prioritized based off, then we go to the rest if we go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a program at the city on demolition permits where it was first come, first served. And it got gamed.
These guys aren't first bending.
Yeah, well, hopefully not.
Maybe they'll hire him for the.
But the point I'm trying to make is that it should be by need, and if you have 50 applications and funding only for so many, that you have to give it to the ones that are.
You could call it first round funding or something. Closes blank date.
Yeah, and because $10,000 if all of the owners got $10,000 grants, it would be around 40 households. So, but yeah.
This may be a discussion for another time, but prioritizing based on emergency, does that encourage not taking care of your things to get greater priority in getting grants?
Well, my guess is any of these current applications have already been,
it's already a
whether
problem.
it wasn't taken care of, whatever,
Right.
it's already a problem.
Oh yeah, I have someone in Lazy Glen I'm going to deliver this to who needs some serious roof.
That was very thoroughly discussed, and that is a recognized, concern while we were doing this. That was brought up repeatedly, and I think the board came to the consensus that it was worth the risk to try it.
If we see a hot water heater that looks like it's been hit with a baseball bat.
We want to reward good behavior.
I mean, yeah.
Agreed. Any other comments, questions?
Are there more slides?
That's
I would just say in other areas, we are rewarding good behavior, because if someone went to try to sell their home with any of these in ill condition, that would be reduced in their full sale value.
Yep.
Be identified in the inspection report.
Right.
And I don't think anyone's gambling a month or two of cold showers just in case they can get a new hot water heater. I mean, I think it's real people's homes who live in them, but I don't quite understand how these will be evaluated. Like, what emergency is going to mean? So that'll be very interesting to bring back. Yeah.
It's gonna be good data collection, finding out what kind of repair these units are in.
Exactly. And I think we just have to say now, there's going to be people who hear about this program and it wasn't set up to serve them because we're learning. And so we are going to hear someone who's like, but for this, I could have helped you improve the housing stock. And we're going to be told that we're doing it wrong and that we didn't think of everything. Because
that's a good point.
This feels like we haven't thought of everything, or there's so many things that are subjective that someone is going to hope that it applies to them and it doesn't.
Elizabeth told us how that's supposed to work. It's just data points. We're going to refine it.
So
Yeah. Like,
If
we
you didn't
can-
want to be criticized, you wouldn't be on this board.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out. I want the quote there now. We know.
I'm
it's not
excited for
final.
the data collection, and we'll be bringing that back to you all too, so we can bring it back to the drawing board and figure out how we can improve
Yeah.
down the road.
I think this is, I mean, at the end of the day, we all acknowledge we have a capital reserves problem. These are funds that are directly going to solve big, critical capital problems within the units. We're going to have data collection, and we're serving the bottom three categories.
We're taking a bite out of the elephant.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great step in the right direction.
I think we see this the most when in our mobile home stock, right? So it's also, I think, are you going to decide that something is so close to needing full replacement that like a home is so close to needing full replacement that the 10 grand's not going to help the next buyer essentially?
Yeah, we have discussed that, but have decided that we're not gonna start with anything that disqualifies people, because we would like to get just like all the applications, see what's out there, what repairs people need. I will say there's other communities that have separate mobile home repair programs for that reason, but I think for the starting point, we're just gonna keep it more general. Yeah.
It's a Band-Aid. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it goes.
So we'll see. Yeah. Wish I could, give more information, but I think we're gonna learn a lot as we go.
So I would request that the first due date get pushed back a bit, if that's.
How do other people feel about that?
No, that's why I'm saying we should just say funding, the application's open till the funding's exhausted.
Like, grant opens in a week from now? That just, it doesn't seem like enough time to me.
Let's see, if you say until the funding is exhausted, okay, and you have room for 40, and so you get the game system, and number 40 comes in, and number 40 is, I don't know, something silly that we wouldn't pay for. 41, 42, 43 may have roof repairs that they need, and because they weren't good at gaming the system, they don't get considered. So I don't think you can just say until, I think this is the right way. You say it's open until October 20th or whatever date, or until funding is exhausted.
And then you could move that your application funding status, you'll know within 5 working days if you've received funding.
Yeah.
So.
What?
I don't think there's any harm in opening it earlier.
Okay, can we close it later?
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't, like, someone might be ready now, that they're like, oh God, this is amazing.
Right,
Thank
my
you.
roof needs fixing before winter.
I mean, that's what I'm wondering. We talk about
keep it open for
gaming
2
the
weeks?
system, whatever else, it's a Google Doc.
We could just,
They gotta go out
Just
and fill it.
strike October 16th, say
Well,
that the
okay.
applications are open.
Well,
No,
we
I
have
think
to,
that's fine to
we need a
open.
date that we know it's gonna be open.
Right.
And I think a week between, well, it's 2 weeks between learning, if you learned Monday, right? If you learn Monday, you have 2 weeks to get it in, and I just don't know that our entire community will learn Monday, and I do think equity is an issue here.
We can do more.
Like, the end of, open 16th, closes the 31st, like, end of the month.
so right now you're deciding between like longer open or pushing it
Yeah,
back
that's
a
fine.
week
That's fine,
in
right?
total.
I think longer open.
Okay, that we can definitely do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And then,
team.
then, applications will be evaluated and grants will be awarded. It should be like November 10th or something.
We'll fiddle with the dates, but we'll keep it open a bit longer.
I'll look at the calendar. And
Yeah.
I think if your best ways of finding out about it is checking your email or reading the paper, and I actually don't know if this is gonna make the paper, then you have to allow.
It's gonna make the
We
paper.
could do a press release.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, put it on the website too.
Yeah,
Yeah. we
it's
can-
gonna make the paper. We're gonna.
with the-
And so I think we just need to be very clear
In
that
Spanish?
if there's
Right.
100 applications, the top 40 most critical repairs are going to be the
Right.
ones.
yes.
Yeah.
And it could be 50, right? If every, or,
And it could
or
be
80
50,
if everybody
right.
needs a $5 grand
Correct.
assist.
And that's where I think the funding, until funding exhausted, covers all that.
I
If
agree.
you're not gonna just give it away when the first 5 applications come in, you're like, well, you're a 3, you're a 2, you're a 1, we're taking the 1 first, and then we'll put the 2s and the 3s in the pile in the back to see where it goes. Based upon applications received, right? You're gonna get, you may get some of that 2s and 3s out there, but you're gonna hit the 1s first, and if you get 41s, you're gonna take all the 41s.
You could evaluate by, without having the category that's in there to start with.
Well, I'm not talking category, isn't there, didn't we make
Priority, yeah.
priorities 1, 2, and 3 as well, or something?
Yeah, you go by your priorities and not,
But I guess I'm like, so how do you, until the funding is exhausted, I mean, how do you, so then you say we're all,
If you're not spending it, how's it gonna
how
get
do you exhaust
exhausted?
the, yeah.
Well, you're gonna hit the
So
the ones
categories twos-
first, right?
the
And you're
twos
gonna-
and-
So you're gonna, let's say you get 51s. How are you gonna determine who should get it? You got 50 that are equally as important or equally, so then you're gonna go to, well, when their application come in, right? Should be first come, first serve.
Well, what if you get 10 priority 1s and you get 50 priority 3s?
And then
I mean, then
that's the
that
fairest way
exhausts,
to
that
evaluate
exhausts
it.
the funding, but I think,
Well,
I think that the set date is, I think that's the right way to do it. And then if it doesn't get exhausted, you can always open it up.
And what I would say also is the way that we have it set up right now is what I presented to council and the BOCC as well, that we'd be prioritizing, basically.
See your point, but
I mean,
Spending all the money on any of these things is a success.
well, that's what I'm saying, and so you're gonna go to the 1s first. And you're right, if you get 10 1s, you take care of the 10 1s. You give the 10, and then you go, all right, we got 43s, and now we're gonna prioritize based upon when the application came in, and we're gonna spend that money too. And then we're gonna report back and say, well, it was really well used, and here's what we fixed, what we repaired.
I don't
And
know
I'm
what you're
not
gonna
su-
do with 51s.
And I'm not sure that that's the best way to do it, is to by date, because you might have somebody who didn't make that first date, but they are, and it's more of a need than somebody who got theirs in a little bit earlier. So I still think it's something that we need to look at as to what is the emergency? Is it, they have no heat, they have no
Well, no, I agree with that,
hot
but
water.
at some point, you've gotta say, well, you missed the boat, you didn't read the paper.
We've got the
Yeah.
prioritization matrix for the initial round.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't take care of it, it'll be more of a rolling thing. So
Ask for more money.
I think we've got a good balance between both priorities.
Sorry to keep extending this. In what way are you going to ensure that they're not also going to their homeowner's insurance and getting it covered? You know, all you're gonna see is that it was paid. But a lot of these emergency repairs, that's why you have homeowner's insurance, and they kick in some percent as well. Are you gonna be asking for, like, what does your coverage cover?
Homeowners doesn't usually repair a roof. Or if it's
Simple
a-
And I will say,
question.
just this is not part of anything we have set up right now.
Have you filed a claim with your,
Right.
or have you, or do you intend to file a claim with your homeowner's insurance?
I think that,
or
can we add that?
warranty, extended warranty.
Or extend a warranty, whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a little important.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What else? Sorry, now we've talked about the timeline and we've talked about, Adam, did you file a claim with your insurance? What else did I miss that we discussed?
Well, what are you
when-
gonna do with that information?
Well, the plan is I'm gonna edit those both on the application and so that
Yeah,
way.
but if the answer is yes, my hot water heater is still under warranty,
Oh, I see.
what are we telling that person?
Then you need
Go
to
get
submit
it
through
done.
the
Then you
warranty.
don't qualify? I mean, we should be
Yeah.
clear about that.
Yeah.
You know, or, you only qualify for the cost that's not reimbursed by your
Right.
Yeah.
warranty, something like that.
I mean, that could, yeah. A hole in the roof was probably caused by something, right? Like insurance is covering something roof emergency related.
Yeah, a 30-year-old roof though isn't,
But
It's not
redoing a
covered.
roof. I get redoing a roof, but an emergency where there is a hole in your
Tree
roof
falling
probably
in
was-
your
yeah,
roof.
Okay, yes.
Hailstorm?
Right.
that could bust windows for sure. I mean,
Well, we don't get them.
Not here.
I'm saying.
All right.
tornado.
huge one.
Tornado,
Okay,
yeah, in the
and
Midwest.
so would it be helpful, so maybe for your next meeting, I could compile this in a memo again, also for the public too, of course.
I mean, it's
that
live
way there's
before our next
steps.
meeting, right?
Yeah.
It'll already be live. Yeah, but
Okay.
it isn't. It's fine. Also, if you that makes sense. But also, we'll be in the paper. We'll do an email, but just so it's all in one piece of paper as well.
Okay.
All right. So, anything else? I can go back to a slide or questions or other things too. We'll start
Thank you.
spreading the word.
I motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Ward. It's a roll call vote.
Okay. Kelly,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
John,
Yes, ma'am.
who am I missing?
Now I
Allison.
can get my bus.
Meeting is
Thank you.
adjourned, 5:50.